Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Shamrocks Sportscast. This is our first official post-winter break podcast. Evan, how was your break, man?
It was pretty good. A little depressing there towards the end, being a Purdue sports fan, but
Man.
Overall it was good. I got to watch some good football, spend some time with family, some much-needed time with family. And it was just really relaxing, really nice. But I'm really excited to be back.
Yeah. Aiden will be joining us shortly. And yeah, I would absolutely agree. Obviously there's a ton of good sports going on, NFL playoff chase ramping up, as well as college football bowl games, some good college basketball in there too. So
and some NBA. Luka Doncic is him.
Oh
Donovan Mitchell dropping 71. We've seen some impressive performances so far.
A lot of good stuff, a lot of fun sports to watch, as well as, like you said, spend some good time with the family. Had, I would argue one of the weirdest 3-day stretches we've ever had.
Yeah.
With the bad weather,
Oh yeah, it was quite chilly for sure. And to couple that with the precipitation that we got, it just made everything so weird, especially right before Christmas, where it affects travel and stuff. It was bizarre.
Yeah, weird. But we got the white Christmas we asked for.
Yes, we did. Even though it didn't really snow on Christmas, it was still white on the ground, so I'll count it a white Christmas.
Absolutely.
You wanna lead us off here with some basketball on the guys' side?
Sure. Yeah, I will. So I'll run through the scores of the games that we have not covered yet, and then we'll sort of dive into a couple of those games and preview a big weekend for the Rocks. So Friday before break, the Westwood Shamrocks knocked off a top 5 Noblesville team, 48-43 at home. Obviously a huge win. Noblesville, in as long as we've sort of been in the middle school, high school level, they've never really been, one of the top contenders consistently in the state. But obviously this year's is different for them,
Yes.
and that was a big win. We'll talk about that in a minute. Next afternoon, because the game got moved, the Shamrocks knocked off Bethesda Christian 50-36. On Wednesday before break, they drilled Muncie Burris 56-20.
Good defensive effort right there.
Yes, absolutely. We were talking about that a little bit. And then finally, last night, the Rocks got down early in the first half at Mount Vernon. We're down 5 at half. Ended up having a phenomenal third quarter. Came back and beat the Mount Vernon Marauders. Yes, sorry, 67-58. So another good win. The Rocks currently stand at 7-1 with a big weekend looming.
Yeah, so the Noblesville game, it was a close game the entirety. It was tied up at 21 going into half, and then we really shined in the fourth quarter. The third quarter wasn't our best; we were down 1, but in the fourth quarter, once we started making shots and putting up consistent, good defensive efforts, we really got away. And then once Noblesville started fouling and sending guys to the line, it was over. Because, in my opinion, we have some of the best free throw shooters in the HCC, if not the entire state. Sam Bishop is shooting 95% from the line this year on, I think, 20 attempts. So that's just truly insane. And Alex Romack has been practicing all offseason. He was practicing all season last season. And he makes do with his time at the free throw line. But it was a really good effort by the Rocks, especially in the second half. Trey Buchanan was 17. Last night he had 25. He's one of the top players on the team this year. Alex Romack with a whole lot of boards in the Noblesville game as well. Let's see here. Rebounds, he had 9. So 7 of them were offensive and 2 of them were defensive. Really solid effort by the Rocks versus Noblesville. And then really there's not much to say about the Bethesda Christian and Muncie Burris games. We were expected to win those handedly, and for the most part we did. I believe Will Harvey was the leading scorer in the Bethesda Christian game because there was the absence of Trey Buchanan. He took that game off. Yes, Will Harvey had 16. He went 5 for 11 and hit 4 threes in that game. So he was on fire. There was no heat check there. Sam Bishop hit 2 threes in his 12-point performance against Bethesda Christian as well. And we saw a lot of guys get points that don't really get points. Armani had 9 in the Bethesda Christian game. Seth had 2 and Charles had 2. I find this game similar to last night's game only because so many guys got points. I believe Seth had 4. Will Harvey had 3 or 5. Charles, I think, had 6 or above, mainly because he was driving the paint a whole lot. But I mean, it was just a solid game overall. And then the Muncie-Burris game, won by 36.
Shout out Matthew Noss.
He had 4 points. He eclipsed the total that Alex Wolf had the entire season of last year. So I think it's good to say that Noss is a better player than Alex Wolf at this time. It really just depends on the rest of the season. We got to get Noss the minutes. But the leading scorer in the Muncie-Burris game was Alex Romack. He had 15, but some good performances all around. Max McComb had 10. He went 4 for 5 from the field. Really good performance there. Will Harvey with 9. Let's see here. Ian Wilson had minutes, but he didn't get any points. Bishop had 3. Charles had 5. Seth had 4. Armani had 6. We're seeing the ball dished out a lot, especially in these lower level games, which I like to see because you like to test, some skill early on. As we see Aiden walking in, he'll be walking in here in a minute, but overall, a really, really good effort by the Rocks these last 4 games, and we're streaking right now. We are, I believe, 5 in a row. Yes, we're 5 in a row, and looking to continue that into Yorktown. As here's Aiden McNally.
Yeah.
Hello.
And sort of, on that note, I think we knew what this Rocks team could be. We knew what this backcourt could be heading into the season. But it was really just a matter of how soon would we see Trey Buchanan emerge into that leader role that we forecasted. And in my opinion, I think he's sort of come into his own in the last few games. Obviously, he played pretty well to start the season, but I mean, this kid is in my opinion, playing a lot better, a lot earlier than I thought he would.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Which is big because obviously we haven't really got into the bulk of our conference schedule. And, if he's in prime condition heading into that, then, we are absolutely going to be a force to reckon with in conference play, as well as getting into sectionals and stuff. So obviously a great start for him, and let's hope he can keep it up and continue playing at this level.
We got a tough weekend, or next couple of games, I should say, not just weekend, but it's going to be a relatively tough rest of the month. Yorktown, not one of those teams you really worry about a whole lot, but they can be dangerous on Friday. And then Saturday, the away game at Carmel. That is probably one of the biggest games of the year. It always is.
Yeah.
But this year especially, it's one of the biggest games of the year. And then next Friday, we got HSE away, and then Brownsburg at home for senior night, Friday the 20th. And then we end out the month with 3 winnable games against Tri-West Hendricks, Avon, and Liberty Christian. What are we thinking the record is the rest of the month?
Man, let's total this off.
Yeah. So they have, Carmel, HSC, Brownsburg, Tri-West Hendricks, Avon, Liberty Christian.
Don't forget about Yorktown. Can't forget about Yorktown.
Yeah. I say they beat Yorktown.
I agree.
I say they beat Carmel in a close one.
I also agree with that.
Noblesville beat Carmel by multiple possessions, and we beat Noblesville. Obviously, that metric always is never.
It's in play every single game.
Yeah, and certainly we'll dive into sort of that matchup after we go through this little exercise. But that's a very winnable game.
HSC, I say they beat, even though they're much improved this year. I still think Westwood comes away with that one on the road. Brownsburg is going to be a tough one, considering, don't they have a kid that's committed to Purdue?
Cannon Catchings.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be a good game. We have that one at home. I don't know. I still think we're going to come away with this one because we're seeing this trend that we're seeing, like, this team's getting hot.
Yeah.
And all this good competition is only going to make us better.
Yeah.
And by the time they play Carmel and HSC, they're going to be ready for Brownsburg at home. So I think they take that one as well. Tri-West Hendricks, obviously, I think they're going to take that one. Avon, we lost to them last year, but we were also missing Braden and Cam that game. And
Well, no, we had Cam, but he didn't get the minutes because he was injured.
Yeah, because he had that knee issue.
He came in at the very end and hit a 3 in the guy's face and got a technical for it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. I say they beat Avon. I feel like, I mean, obviously this sounds biased because I go to Westfield, but I think last year was kind of a fluke.
It's definitely a winnable game.
And then Liberty Christian, I say they beat.
So undefeated?
You think I might be biased here. I think they'll go undefeated. What is it? 8-0, 7-0?
7-0.
7-0. I could also see them. So it'll range from anywhere from 5 to 7 wins. I say we take at least 5 wins this month.
So you're saying we're gonna end the month of January with 1 month to go in competition.
14-1.
14-1. All right.
That would be.
If you told me that at the beginning of the season, I would have thought you were crazy. But now I'm starting to see that it's a very real possibility.
12-3 to 14-1 is my range by the end of this month.
I'm gonna go. Personally, I'm gonna go 5-2 in that stretch.
Okay.
I think they split. I think they're gonna get beat at Carmel. A lot of pent up emotions in that game.
Yeah.
For the Greyhounds.
On both sides.
Yep. Absolutely. And then I think they split HSC Brownsburg.
Okay.
So
the other thing I want to say about the Carmel Westfield matchup last year, in the regular season matchup we played against Carmel, not the sectional one, we only had 3 players score in that one.
And technically it was 2 because Nick had the goaltending.
Nick had the goaltend. Braden put up like 28. Cam put up like somewhere in the high teens.
It was like 19.
And now we have neither of those players. So it's going to be interesting to see who steps up in that matchup.
Yeah, but think about from Carmel's perspective, you lose Peter Suter, who is playing really well at a mid-major D1 program right now, Bellarmine. You lose
Josh Wack.
Yep, Josh Wack, Charlie Williams, as well as Garway Duval, who was emerging towards the end of the season last year, and he was
scary,
a matchup nightmare for us.
Yeah, and especially in sectionals.
Yeah, so
I just hit my mic. Sorry,
I've been to 2 Carmel. I've been to 2 Carmel games this year. Went to the Zionsville game where they won, as well as the Noblesville game where they got beat at the buzzer. And
what a crazy finish that was. That buzzer beater.
Oh my god, craziness. But I will say, like, this is a team that is vulnerable. They are young, and they're getting better every single week. But I think, we benefit from catching them a week into the second semester because obviously, they just had a break. We just had a break. And it's going to be interesting to see, how some of those younger players like Alex Kudo and other names can handle that layoff.
I feel like this might be a bold prediction. This might not be. We'll see. There will be at least 2 technicals in that game.
Wow. Okay.
Only because 1, the rivalry. 2, I feel like the relationships between these teams are a lot closer now because they're younger, and I feel like they've played with each other more.
Sure.
And 3, since these teams are younger, they don't know how to really control their emotions yet. So I'm not saying that either side's gonna have more. It might be 1-1, it might be 2-0, but I feel like this game might be chippy. It'll get really chippy.
Yeah, I think I have that same energy, but I don't know if I would go as far as saying that.
But then again, last night, Mount Vernon was trash talking all 5 of the guys on court at the same time. It was you could hear it from across the gym, and Trey and Alex and Charles and all them handled it really well. They did. They didn't really let it get to them at all. The only time I thought I heard about it was in the locker room post game, but they weren't, saying, "Man, it really got to me." They were just talking about how funny it was. So it may be chippy, it may not be. We'll see how well both teams compose themselves before the game. But this stretch of the season has an opportunity to be really good, and it has the opportunity to let the team improve as it needs to.
Yeah,
I agree.
When will these teams learn?
Yeah, that's the real question.
I feel like Sumter has to do some type of the players have to go through some mental training.
Oh, they definitely do.
That is what? I can't even imagine. I would lose it.
Westfield gets crap talked the most out of all the HCC teams because of the recent success.
Yeah, I feel it.
Last night they were warming up in the hall against Mount Vernon, and there were these like this group of 10 kids that came up, and they were just like trash talking. They were like, "You're nothing without PKB. You're nothing without Cam Hafner." And I was just sitting there. I was like, "What?" Like,
They haven't watched us on ISC Network.
I was about to say they haven't watched us at all this season.
Nope.
I mean, look at the record. Our only loss is in overtime on a buzzer beater.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that has to account
That
for
was
something.
a tough one.
These kids don't know.
And you could argue we could have won that, should have won that.
We coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
You have every team has one of those games each season where it's like, if you could rewind time, you'd have that game back.
Sure. You know, I think something we always pay pretty good attention to when we have these big matchups against big time players is who is going to guard them. You know, Sam Orm for Carmel headed to Belmont. He's really emerged this year. He's always been a very good player, but this year he sort of found that role as being Carmel's main guy. You know, he is a 6'8", 6'9", you know, guard forward. So you wonder who we're going to stick on him. You know, Charles would be the safe bet, but you could also, you know, envision Armani or even maybe Alex guarding him. It's going to be interesting.
It is really going to be interesting. I will admit the team is more focused on Yorktown at the moment, so they haven't really talked about who's guarding who. Mm-hmm. If I had to guess,
I would say Charles.
It would be Charles because he's the on-ball defender of the team.
Yeah.
He's in kind of Braden's defensive role from last year. And, you know, Alex will stick in the paint. Trey will guard, I believe, their second best shooter because he can stick on the ball really well as well. Mm-hmm. Armani, yeah, it could be really either Armani or Charles. I can't see it being anyone else. Sure. Do you want to do score predictions for that Carmel game?
Sure. Let's do it.
Aiden, let's start with you.
Ooh, away at Carmel, we swept them last year, 2-0 in the series. I feel like Carmel want the revenge, but I feel like we'll hang on. I feel like it is gonna be a one possession game. We're gonna win by
Similar last year.
1, 2, or 3, and it's gonna be an overtime. I feel like it's gonna be an overtime game.
All right, Sam.
Wow. Low scoring, a mucky game. 37-29 Carmel.
37-29.
Yeah. Prove me wrong, coach.
So
I could see that happening.
Our offense is kind of like Carmel's offense from years past. They don't put up a lot of points, but they're effective, and their defense is really good. I feel like Westfield will walk away with this one. I'm going to go 41-38. It'll be a horrendously low-scoring game. Let's just say the difference between last night's game and the Carmel game. Last night's game, there was defense played, but only in certain spurts and not a whole lot of consistency there. In the Carmel game, it's going to be consistent defense all the time. No one's going to really jump out to a big lead like last night. I believe Mount Vernon had a 9 to 11 point lead at one point, and so did we. We had a 12-point lead. It's going to be close the entire game, just like it was last year, both times, and we're going to walk away with it.
Yeah, I feel like every time we play Mount Vernon, it's super high scoring. Like
last year it was like 88-81.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Something in the 70s or 80s. It was crazy.
Well, then again, because Mount Vernon shoots the three more than like any team that we play all year.
Yeah.
And that was our problem last year. We didn't defend the three very well against any team for any single game. And this year we're a lot better at it. We're a lot better on ball. But Mount Vernon's always one of those teams that's just going to shoot threes in your face, and they're going to do their best to knock it down. I believe as a team they had 24 three-point attempts, which is equivalent to Fletcher Lawyers in one game. But let's move on to the girls basketball team, shall we?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to run through some of the scores we missed?
Absolutely. As there's the bell, it's 8:50 now. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, but I am. All right. So since we have last talked, they lost away at Noblesville 53-19. Don't really want to get into that one. I talked to some of the girls on the team, and they were like, "We don't know what happened," and I said, "I don't know either, so let's just not talk about it."
Sure.
They then hosted Franklin Central the following Tuesday on the 20th, and they won by 5. It was a really good second half effort. Didn't really get going until that third quarter, but it was a really solid effort all around. 49-44 was the final of that one. Then they had a tournament right after Christmas. The 27th, they played Kankakee Valley. I think I pronounced that right. 49-32. It was either this game or the Rochester game where Ellie Kelleher dropped 20. Her first 20 bomb of the season, I believe. And it was a really good offensive effort. We've had some good offensive games these last couple of games. In the second game of that tournament, we played Twin Lakes, the team from Monticello, and we lost 43-30. Got locked up that game on the 28th. And then, actually, no, that wasn't the last game of the tournament. The last game of the tournament was Rochester that we also played on Wednesday, and we won 45-23. It was again solid games. Went 3-2 over break. Can't really complain about that. We play Bishop Chatard tonight. We are home, so the guys will practice after school. I think it's from 3:50 to 5, and then the girls take the court for their game at 7:30. So, what are our predictions for this week? So we have 3 games this week:
Yeah.
Bishop Chatard, HSE, and Indian Creek.
So
Those are next.
Those are next week? I thought they were this week. Oh, they're next week. Okay, well, I stand corrected, guys. I'm sorry about that.
So tonight against Bishop Chatard, I think they take that one. One thing I really like about this team is that you'll look back at the 3-loss streak where they lost to Warsaw, Carmel, and Zionsville all 3 in a row, and then they bounce back with a double-digit win against a conference opponent.
Yeah.
They don't really let losing streaks get to them.
No.
At all, which I really like about this team. Obviously they lost to Twin Lakes by 13, but then the same day, hours later, they smack a team by 20.
That is true.
I think they're on a high motor right now, coming off of that 20-point win to end off that tournament, to end off break. I think they're gonna take the win against Bishop Chatard. Next week they play HSC. That's a tough one. And then in the same week they play Indian Creek and Brownsburg. I'm wrong on that. They play HSC and Indian Creek next week. Only 2 games next week.
Yeah.
I say they split those 1-1. Brownsburg at home, I say they take that one, and then Ben Davis at home. That's going to be a tough one. I really don't know. Those are 2 really even teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a 9-7 team. This is a winning team. They only have 5 games left in their season already.
Yeah, because the girls sectional starts way sooner than the guys because of the hosting stuff.
Who goes where and whatnot. But
I think state is on the same weekend, if I'm mistaken, which I might be. It might be a month earlier. I don't know.
But I say they end the season off with a 3-2 record these last 5 games. So I'm going to say they go 12-9 to end the year.
Awesome.
Which is a respectable record.
Yeah.
Especially for how many seniors they lost.
Oh yeah, they lost a whole lot of talent, but they're still trucking and still doing good.
For sure.
So my predictions for the last 5 games of the season, I believe we take a win tonight over Chatard. It might be close, but I feel like we can certainly put up a lot of points in this one. Friday versus HSC, that's next week. It's going to be a tough game. 15-1 HSC girls basketball, one of the state, favorites. I think we might lose that only because we're away. But then we also have a chance to, pull off a crazy upset there. The following day at 1:30, we have a game versus Indian Creek at Indian Creek. I will say that we win that one pretty comfortably. Let's look at the records here. 17-0. I'll still say we win that one. I'm confident, So we're so far 2-1 at the end of the season. Brownsburg at home. Brownsburg's 9-7. They're right with us. I think because we have Ellie Kelleher we have an advantage in that one because Brownsburg doesn't have Ellie Kelleher. So I will say we're going to win that one. Ben Davis, 11-6.
Toughie.
Tough game. But we have that at home, and I'll say that we take that one. So I'll say we go 3-2.
Nice.
Or actually, is that 3-2 or 4-1? I'll go 4-1. We're going 4-1. You know what? Why not? We'll finish 13-8. That's my prediction.
Yeah, respectable. And I'm not gonna, go through the games and pick who I think is gonna win. But I think that with 5 games left in the season, heading into a tough sectional that this team hasn't won since 2013. I think you're just sort of looking for all the momentum you can get, and whether that is, a win against a good team, a win against, a underperforming team, or just, game stuff that you see in the game that you can translate to tournament play. So I think, first year Coach Key, it's going to be interesting to see, what they do to try and, get ready for the big sectional week, after
For sure.
these regular season games. And I'm confident that they can, because it's not like you guys said, it's not a too difficult of a schedule to wrap up with 2 home games ending it off. But so, if Ellie Kelleher continues to ball like she has and takes that momentum of her 20-point game against Kankakee Valley, then, anything's possible.
If we rebound, we could possibly end this 5-0. I mean, I think both of the coaches, boys and girls, stress rebounding more than anything in the world. And I feel like every coach does, but especially these two, because last year we had some of the best rebounding performances, of all time. This year, we don't really have a whole lot of, tall, athletic guys on either side. So I feel like that's something you can't really practice, or at least put into practice like on a daily or weekly basis. So you have to trust that, the guys want to be athletic enough to actually go up and get them. But I mean, it'll be a really entertaining end to the girls basketball season. And, the guys basketball season, Coach Sumter referred to it as season 2, game 1. So I see the approach that he's taking on that. November through December, that's season 1, and then January and February, that's season 2. He said last night, great way to start off season 2 with a win, and they got to keep trucking. Quick little side note here. Shout out to the wrestling team. They beat Noblesville, I believe if it was last week or the week before, 36-30. Really good wins by Jonathan Tanner, Eli Fry, Ike O'Neill, Jason Rooney, all of them. Our wrestling team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially come state time.
Sure.
I know we haven't really touched on them a whole lot this year, but they deserve love.
Yeah.
Any last words before we have to end it here, boys?
Nope.
I don't think so. Wish the Rocks some luck heading into a big weekend, and a lot of sports, a lot of competition as we resume back from break. So, give them all the hopes you can.
Yeah. Go support Purdue basketball, by the way. We need it. We're a mess. We're a wreck.
Big game for the Hoosiers tomorrow night.
Who do they play? Who do they got?
At Iowa.
At Iowa.
A reeling Iowa team.
Man.
Who Cam Hafner beat.
Yeah.
That is right.
Last
Yes.
week.
Shout out Eastern Illinois. Cam actually has gotten minutes as a freshman. Starting. That's right. He put up a good performance last week. I believe he had 9. I can't remember who it was against, but I like to see the past Rocks absolutely getting the love and appreciation that they deserve.
Yeah.
Postgraduate. So
Absolutely.
We will see you guys next week. Take it easy.
Peace.